We are going to wrap up, and I promise, though, one of the things I promised certainly before we wrap up is to hear from our panelists about solutions. Now, it seems, I know you're incredulous, the whole notion of solutions to something this massive, but I think there are some suggestions here that we have from our panelists, and let's start from this end, Brian.
All right. Well, again, a lot of it is, how do we transform the conversation nationally, right? How do we move from a place of police being seen as warriors to being guardians, as being people who come in to, whether it's to occupy a community or to be the warriors to fight crime, to people who are part of a community. If you go back to the 1820s, the founding of the London Metropolitan Police, they're attributed to Sir Robert Peel, who was the person that organized the police department. But one of the key concepts is the police are the community, and the community are the police. And we have to go back to that. The other piece I'd say is we have to do more work to make sure that there's evidence, just as we've been talking, about what makes a difference in policing, what makes a difference in civilian oversight. I know our organization, NACOL, is now working on a 2-year grant from the Department of Justice, the COPS Office, Community-Oriented Policing Services, to look at what are the best types of civilian oversight and how does that affect outcomes in your community. So doing that kind of research that can make a real difference in the lives of people on the ground is vital. So those are my 2 things I'd offer.
Thank you, John.
Well, obviously training, because that's the business I'm in right now. But, working, and I believe really strongly about police legitimacy, right? We have to be legitimate. We answer to the public. And I think getting to know the people you serve, interacting with them, and building trust is key to when I call the police, I want to know that when they arrive, I'm going to be okay. And a lot of folks don't do that. I shocked my staff a while back and I said, I got pulled over and I was scared. You're scared. You're a veteran cop. I don't know that guy just like you don't know that guy. It's real for all of us. And when I stop somebody, I don't know you either. So how do we create this trust amongst each other that and I think as policing grows and progresses, we want to embrace each other, embrace our differences, but grow as a community so that I can call, just like I can call on mom to come take care of me, I need to be able to call on a police officer to come take care of me in a time of need, and I need to be able to do that openly and with trust.
And let's go to Tracy, and then we'll come back here to David to sum up.
Okay, so I think 2 of the ideas that I would have mentioned have already been mentioned, so let me just be specific in terms of recommendations by first referring back to the President's Task Force report. There were 59 recommendations that we offered to President Obama, and I think many of them are things that communities can try. And then also to bring back something very granular and small that John mentioned, where he was saying that the police officers, no, actually, I think it was you, David Williams, where people were having meals officers were having meals with members of the community. We know from decades of social psychological research to have reconciliation between groups that you have to spend time. And Linda Tropp's work at the University of Amherst shows that you need about 3 hours. It's about the time that you would spend having a meal with someone. That you cannot underestimate the power of that and the importance of law enforcement leaders acknowledging their mistakes that they've made in the past, and the fact that discrimination has taken place in the past and continues to take place, and leaders need to be upfront and acknowledge that.
Finally, David?
Yeah, I think the future is about all of us. We're all in the same boat, and we've got to find ways to work together. The inequalities that exist with the police is just one subset of racial inequalities that exist. And I think we need to think of systemic, comprehensive, multi-pronged strategies that seek to address all of the inequalities that exist simultaneously so that we can really guarantee every American child, regardless of your zip code, regardless of your race, ethnicity, regardless of your religion, you are afforded access to all of the opportunities that American society offers. So it's about us coming together to create a better future for all of our children.